Dibbles.
Okay. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think I have.
Dad, do you know what DIBELS is? Dad. Dad. Hey, Travis, what's up?
What's up?
Can you answer a question for me?
What's that?
What? Do you know what DIBELS is?
DIBELS is a level 72 boss in the Dungeon of Thoradon. They use arcane magic to defeat your minions. Everyone knows that.
Oh, cool. Hi, Sonia.
Hey.
You know what DIBELS is?
Dibbles?
Yeah, like DIBELS. DIBELS.
As far as I know, it's the name of the invisible squirrel on my backpack. But nobody's supposed to know that.
Well, do you care if I use this tape and show my whole class?
I don't know. I might have to kill you. I really don't know.
Hi, Zach.
Hi, Jenny.
Do you know what DIBELS is?
Dimples?
DIBELS?
Dibbles? No, it sounds like something a dog would eat.
Do you know what DIBELS is?
Dibbles? Dibbles are... It's that show on PBS.
No, I'm pretty sure that's the Wiggles, not the DIBELS.
DIBELS means dynamic indicators of early literacy skills.
Basic. Early. Literacy. Skills.
Oh, a dimple!
Oh, DIBELS! I get it.
Oh, okay.
I think it's some kind of reading program.
DIBELS is a test that we actually do on our younger kids that we do to test their fluency.
DIBELS is a reading assessment that's done in primary grades typically, that looks at reading fluency, particularly they have students read aloud and you make markings on.
Hi, Fluffy. Fluffy, what's DIBELS? What's DIBELS, Fluffy? What is it?
School corporations can choose to use DIBELS, or?
I know that last year we were part of a pilot, because, and this is just my opinion, right now in the state, the only testing that's done with elementary students starts in 3rd grade with ISTAT. And there's not really any documented testing that happens with our K-1-2 kids. And so I think this is a way for the state to start collecting data on what's happening in our K-1-2 classrooms, is using this as a measure to see how successful our kids are being with literacy. And there's also a math component on it too that we do as well. Well, and there are some confusing ones, because there's one at the beginning of the test, you name it and you say this is a bump, and it's like a bump on a head, and so that's the B sound. And then the next picture is an insect. Well, kids rarely call insects insects, they call them bugs. So then you say this is an insect, and then this is, I don't remember what they all are on that page. There are 4 pictures. But then one of the questions is point to the picture that starts with bug. And almost all of them point to the bug, because, I mean, they just, when you look at the pictures, that's the first thing they see, and they think, oh, bug, bug, that's
Well,
it.
then they essentially kind of got the answer right. So how do you just mark it wrong then, even though they know the sound?
Well, and that's, that's something too that we have to, if we're being consistent, it's incorrect because we said this is an insect, and so when we ask which one starts with if, then we expect them to point to that one. So those are those things that you just, technically they did get it right if it's a bug, but since we said this is an insect, then they got it wrong because they pointed to the wrong picture. I have issues with the whole test, and I think part of it is I have lots of different reasons that I'm not really very favorable of it. And I think part of it is it breaks things down so much that it starts to really separate isolated things out instead of looking at and thinking about reading as a whole, all the things that we do as a reader. I mean, we're decoding and we're comprehending, and all of those go together to help us be readers. It's not just one thing versus another. All of those things come together. And I think the DIBELS assessment breaks it down to very isolated pieces. And I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing to break it down that far. Definitely there's a time for phonetic instruction and, you know, for looking at sounds and knowing your sounds and knowing sounds and words. But I think you also have to relate that to what they know. And I think DIBELS doesn't necessarily go back to what they know necessarily with the skills and things that they're doing. A lot of times, like when we're teaching, I know a little girl the other day in class, she's struggling with the word why, could not get the word why. We said write my on a piece of paper. So she writes my. What's that? You know that word. Yes, that's my. So take what you know about that word and figure it out. And then it was just why. But if we would look at that and break it down phonetically, we would probably still be talking about the word why, where all I had to say was write my. She said my. She looked back at the word, oh, why, and got it. And I think it takes away from that, making those connections that you know. I have an issue with the whole nonsense word part. I would rather, like we did the example with the my or with go, or with a word that they know, looking for a part of something they know and using that to solve a word, as opposed to these nonsense words. To me, the nonsense words is looking more letter by letter what you know. But with our English language, so many times, sometimes they're short vowels, sometimes they are long vowels. And I think we lose that in that nonsense word part. I don't know. I guess sometimes in some of on the test, sometimes, yes, the way they have it written, the consonant, vowel, consonant, it's going to be short. But there are times in language where sometimes those three letters are together and it's a long sound as opposed to a short sound. So I don't understand the why. I guess I would like for the developer to tell me the importance of using nonsense words and why that is. So I just have an issue with that too. And just the time that it takes away from what we could be doing.
Now they do DIBELS 3 times a year, is that correct?
That's
just
correct.
To see
in the fall, spring, or in the fall, and then in the winter, and then at the end of the year in the spring. Yes, and then in between, with what we're doing right now with M-Class and what we're doing with that, then every 2 weeks there's also progress monitoring taking place, so that after instruction that you're also going back in to check and see, are they making progress on these skills as well too. And so that's another component to be added in, which I think that part is a good part, that you want to know if they're maintaining and growing and picking things up. But again, I think we need to be careful with what we're doing between the testing cycles in the classroom and in our small group lessons. I think we need to think about the whole child and reading as a whole, and not these isolated skill strands or whatever that they might be focusing on.